In the dim glow of a late evening, you might find yourself staring at the same photograph you once cherished, the smiles frozen in time, the laughter echoing in a room that no longer feels whole. You hold the memory as if it could be a lifeline, yet you also feel a cold, invisible weight pressing against the edges of your heart. Have you ever forgiven someone, only to discover that the forgiveness was a quiet surrender of something deeper, something that left a hollow echo in its wake? This is a silent paradox that haunts many of us. A promise made, a wound healed on the surface, but a shadow lingering in the corners of our psyche. Imagine a relationship that once burned bright, a partnership that seemed destined, and then, without warning, began to unravel. The hurt, the betrayal, the pain, all of them were addressed with the kind of grace that society praises. Forgiveness. Yet, when you look back, you see that the act of forgiving was not a release, but a transformation. It altered the very fabric of your being, reshaping your sense of self, your boundaries, and even your perception of destiny. Have you ever felt that your forgiveness was less a gift and more a contract you sign without knowing the clauses? The dark side of forgiveness is not a simple moral dilemma. It is a labyrinth of hidden energies, an interplay between the conscious decision to let go and the unconscious forces that pull us deeper into the abyss. In the quiet moments after you say, "I forgive you," you might notice subtle shifts, a new pattern of thoughts, an unexplainable pull towards certain people or situations that feel eerily familiar. Are these merely coincidences? Or is there a hidden hand guiding your path, rewriting your story in ways you cannot yet see? This journey will not be a gentle stroll through a sunlit meadow. Instead, it will be a descent into the shadowed corridors of the mind, where every step is illuminated by the faint glow of a candle that refuses to be extinguished. We will walk to the echoing chambers of the unconscious, where archetypal figures loom and the unseen forces of destiny whisper their cryptic messages. The darkness will not be a mere absence of light. It will be a place of revelation, where the truths that we keep buried under the veneer of forgiveness begin to surface. Think of the moment when you finally let go of anger and resentment, when you allow yourself to say, "I forgive." In that instant, you release a lock on a door that has been closed for years. The door swings open, revealing a corridor that you had never dared to explore. The air inside is heavy with the scent of old memories, yet there's a faint, almost imperceptible fragrance of possibility. Do you feel the pull? Do you sense that the path you are about to walk is both a continuation and a rupture of your previous journey? We will not simply dissect the mechanics of forgiveness. Instead, we will peel back the layers of what it means to surrender and what it costs. We will explore how the act of forgiving can become a conduit for unseen energies, how the shadow of the self can be both a guide and a trap. The narrative will weave psychological concepts, those that speak to the inner workings of the mind, with mystical elements that hint at a destiny far larger than our individual narratives. The darkness we encounter will not be a villain to be vanquished, but a mirror that reflects the parts of ourselves we have long ignored. As you sit here, listening to the soften of the world outside, let your mind wander to the edges of this hidden realm. Picture a veil that separates the known from the unknown, and imagine yourself stepping through it, guided by a quiet, unsteady light. What lies beyond? Is it a revelation of your own shadow self, or a deeper understanding of the relationships that have shaped you? The answer is not immediate. It unfolds slowly, like a secret that is revealed only when you are ready to listen. In this introduction, we have merely set the stage. We have laid the foundation for a journey that will challenge your perceptions, tug at your deepest fears, and illuminate the uncharted territories of forgiveness. The path ahead will be neither straightforward nor comforting. It will be a dance with the darkness, a conversation with the unseen, and a test of your willingness to confront the very core of your being. Are you ready to step into the shadows and discover the hidden truth that lies within? The next chapters will guide you, but the choice to walk this path is yours, and the darkness awaits your courage. Picture a candle flickering in a room that feels both familiar and alien, its flame dancing against a wall etched with symbols you cannot quite place. You pause and the silence deepens as if the very air is listening. In that pause, a question surfaces. What if forgiveness is not merely an act of release, but a key that unlocks a hidden chamber within the psyche? The door it opens does not lead to an instant calm. It opens to a labyrinth of archetypal echoes and unseen currents that ripple through your relationships. When you choose to forgive, the conscious mind seals a wound, but the unconscious breathes a new pattern into the space. Consider the shadow, the part of yourself that holds the repressed anger, the bruised pride, the unmet needs. Forgiveness can become a ritual that invites the shadow to step into the light, but only if you allow it to. This is not a gentle invitation. It is a summons that demands honesty about the darkness you have carried. Have you ever felt that after forgiving, the silence feels heavier than before, as if the absence of conflict has opened a void that needs filling? In Jungian terms, forgiveness can act as a bridge between the persona and the shadow. The persona, the mask you present to the world, often hides a raw pain that fuels the shadow. When you forgive, you dissolve the persona's protective veil, allowing the shadow to surface. This surface is not a threat. It is a mirror reflecting the parts of yourself that have been denied. Consequently, the shadow may manifest in new ways. Perhaps a sudden urge to revisit past relationships, or an inexplicable attraction to someone who embodies the qualities you once suppressed. Another crucial layer is that this process can awaken dormant archetypes, such as the warrior, who now seeks to defend you from future betrayals, or the seeker, who longs to understand the why behind the hurt. These archetypal energies can steer your choices, subtly nudging you toward paths that feel both inevitable and mysterious. The occult perspective adds a layer of intentionality. In many esoteric traditions, forgiveness is treated as a spell, a deliberate act of releasing negative energy to invite positive transformation. By performing a forgiveness ritual, perhaps lighting a black candle, reciting a mantra, or drawing sigils, practitioners aim to cleanse the energetic residue of pain. This cleansing does more than heal. It clears space for synchronicity. You may notice that after such a ritual, coincidences become more pronounced. A letter arrives from an old friend. A song plays that resonates with your current state. A chance encounter offers a new perspective. These are not mere accidents. They are the universe's way of acknowledging the shift you have initiated. Does this feel like destiny aligning, or simply a trick of your own heightened awareness? Yet, the dark side emerges when forgiveness ritual is misapplied. If you forgive without fully processing the underlying hurt, the shadow remains unacknowledged, and the ritual becomes a facade, a performative act that satisfies societal expectations but leaves the wound raw. In that scenario, the energy release is not pure but charged with unresolved resentment, which can manifest in future relationships as passive aggression or an inexplicable sense of betrayal. Consequently, the forgiveness becomes a catalyst for repeating patterns, rather than a bridge to liberation. Now, consider how this applies when you face a betrayal that feels irreparable. Instead of rushing to say, "I forgive," pause and allow the shadow to surface. Write down the pain, let it breathe, and then decide whether the forgiveness you offer is truly yours or a concession to external pressure. This deliberate pacing transforms forgiveness from a surrender to an empowered choice. By inviting the shadow, you are not only healing yourself, but also setting a new narrative for your future interactions. As you walk this path, keep in mind that forgiveness is a dynamic, evolving process. It is not a one-time event, but a series of steps that require continual reflection. Each step you take reshapes the energy field around you, influencing the subtle currents that guide your relationships. The darker the path, the richer the revelations that await. Are you ready to let the shadow guide you? To let the ritual of forgiveness become a beacon that illuminates the hidden currents of your heart? Drawing these strands together, the tapestry of what we have uncovered unfurls like a midnight map lit by a single, steady lantern. Each thread, once a solitary filament of curiosity or doubt, now intertwines with the others, forming a lattice that holds the weight of the unknown in a delicate balance. The shadows that once seemed to lurk at the edges of our consciousness have become the very scaffolding that supports the edifice of our understanding. As you stand at this intersection, you feel the subtle hum of unseen currents, an echo of the forces that have guided you from the first flicker of doubt to this moment of poised anticipation. Imagine, if you will, a garden that has been tended in silence. The soil has been cultivated through patience. The roots have been coaxed into intertwining, and the vines, once hidden beneath layers of neglect, now reach toward the light. The act of forgiving, in its darkest guise, has been both the rain that nourishes and the storm that strips away the superficial. In this garden, the plants do not merely grow, they transform, their colors shifting as they absorb the complexities of the soil. The garden is no longer a static space. It is a living organism that breathes with the rhythm of your own heart. In this evolving landscape, the ancient archetypes we have encountered, the shadow, the seeker, the warrior, have shed their cloaks of myth and entered the realm of personal experience. They no longer stand as distant figures in a dream. They are present companions that walk beside you, each step a dialogue between the known and the unknown. The rituals we have examined, the symbolic gestures that once seemed like mere theatrics, now resonate as the very language through which these archetypal beings communicate. The energy that flows between them is not a static exchange, but a dynamic conversation, one that invites you to listen as much as you speak. The underlying currents that have threaded through our exploration, the subtle tug of destiny, the quiet pull of synchronicity, the unspoken agreements of the unconscious, have coalesced into a single resonant frequency. This frequency, like a hidden melody, plays softly beneath the surface of your everyday life. It is the quiet hum that accompanies a sudden thought, the gentle nudge that leads you toward a conversation you were meant to have. You may find yourself wondering why certain patterns keep emerging, or why particular people seem to echo the lessons you've learned. In the quiet moments, when the world seems still, you can hear the faint echo of that frequency, inviting you to follow its rhythm. As we pivot toward the final reflection, the sense of anticipation thickens, like the air before a storm that promises both release and renewal. You have traversed a path that has been as challenging as it has been illuminating, a path that has demanded that you confront the very core of your being. The darkness that once seemed a void has become a space of potential, a crucible in which the raw material of your experience is refined. The act of forgiveness, once perceived as a simple release, now reveals itself as a complex alchemy, a transformation that reshapes not only your relationships, but the very fabric of your identity. Reflecting on this journey so far, you may notice that the questions you once asked have evolved into invitations. The mystery that once felt like a wall has become a doorway, and the unknown has turned into a companion that walks beside you. The narrative that has unfolded is not a linear story, but a spiral, each turn bringing you closer to a deeper understanding of yourself and the forces that bind us all. In this spiral, the light that once seemed distant now glows within, guiding you toward a place where the dark and the luminous coexist in harmony. The night has been a quiet witness to a revelation that does not simply unfold. It reshapes the very architecture of how we see forgiveness. In the dim glow of our inner chambers, the act of letting go becomes less a surrender and more a deliberate alignment of shadow and light. When we choose to forgive, we are not merely erasing a scar. We are inviting the hidden currents that have been tugging at our hearts to surface, to be acknowledged and to be integrated. This integration is not a passive acceptance, but an active dialogue with the parts of ourselves that have long been kept in the dark. It is in this dialogue that the true power of forgiveness reveals itself. It is a bridge that connects the conscious desire for peace with the unconscious longing for wholeness. The darkness we once feared becomes a canvas upon which our most authentic selves can paint. The patterns we have traced, archetypes, rituals, synchronicities, are not separate threads, but the very stitches that hold the tapestry together. Each thread, whether it be the warrior's resolve, the seeker's yearning, or the shadow's quiet presence, is essential to the integrity of the whole. When we step into this space, we are invited to listen to the quiet hum that permeates our lives. That hum, once dismissed as mere coincidence, is in fact the universe's way of speaking to the language of our own psyche. It nudges us toward the people, the places, and the experiences that will help us grow. Forgiveness, then, is not a one-off act, but a continuous practice of tuning into that hum, of aligning our internal compass with the subtle currents that guide us toward deeper connection and self-awareness. The implication of this understanding is profound. Every time we choose to forgive, we are choosing to rewrite the narrative that has been written for us by fear, pain, and expectation. We are no longer bound by the scripts of past hurt. Instead, we become authors of our own stories, empowered to craft relationships that honor both vulnerability and resilience. In this light, forgiveness becomes a catalyst for transformation, a catalyst that invites us to step beyond the confines of what was and into the boundless possibilities of what could be. So let us carry this insight forward, not as a conclusion, but as a living invitation. The true practice begins now, in the quiet moments between breaths, in the gentle acknowledgement of the shadows that walk beside us, and in the courageous act of aligning our heart's desire with the unseen forces that shape our destiny. Let us embrace forgiveness not as a concession, but as a compass, guiding us toward a future where our relationships are not merely healed, but are elevated to a new plane of authenticity and mutual respect. And as we walk this path, let us remember that the most profound transformation starts from within, and that the darkness we confront today becomes a light that illuminates our tomorrow.